Good evening, everyone. We welcome all of you on behalf of Friday.Waters, an initiative of the W4W Foundation. The main idea is to make Fridays fun-filled and yet fruitful activities for the future generation. The focus of the Water Thesis Club is on bringing the students, scholars who have done or are doing a thesis on water matters to the session in order to discuss with them the making of the thesis and the issues around the subject covered. For today's session of the Thesis Club, we have myself, Ekta Gupta, CEO of Friday Genus, and in role of moderator, Professor Vishal Narain, a professor of Public Policy and Governance, MDI Management Development Institute, Gurgaon, as a discussant. In today's session, our young scholar is Hariprasad, who is a PhD candidate at the Center of Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas at IIT Bombay. His research work focuses on sanitation workers, sanitation technologies, and the laws and policies around sanitation work in India. He has a master's degree in environmental studies and resource management from Delhi University, New Delhi. Further, he has worked in teaching and research roles at Ashoka University, Haryana, and Azim Premji University, Bangalore, and also has worked with Seed India, an NGO based in Delhi, to work with their post-flood recovery project in Kerala. His research interest and past experiences includes WASH, urban ecology, climate change, environmental justice, and disaster management. Today, we are discussing his study on technology, policy, and laws, understanding the evolution of sanitation work and workers. His research is focusing on evolution of sanitation work, sanitation technologies, laws, and policies in Kerala, India, by keeping sanitation workers at the center of the study. The study looks at the precious condition of sanitation workers despite of advancement in sanitation technology and enactment of laws. The study is important as caste, class, and gender aspects play a key role in sanitation service delivery even today. The study would look at how the evolution happened in coastal town of Kerala in terms of the nature of sanitation work, the technologies used, and the different laws and policies for improved sanitation access. The research is a part of multi-country project led by IDS University of Sussex titled Towards Brown Gold, Reimagining Off-Grid Sanitation in Rapidly Urbanizing Areas of Asia and Africa. So I welcome Hariprasad to our Friday thesis session and request Vishal to take the conversation ahead from here. Welcome, Vishal.
Yes, thank you. So may I invite Hariprasad to share his talk?
Yeah. Thank you, Ekta. Thank you, Asi, and thank you, Professor Vishal, for inviting me for this program. And being a part of an ongoing research in LAP, I would like to present some of the preliminary insights and how I'm going through my PhD work. And being at the initial stages of the work, I've done some field work in LAP, looking at the evolution of sanitation work and workers. And I'll be presenting in today's work regarding some of the how my thesis is evolving. So thank you once again for inviting me. I'll start sharing my screen. Hope the screen is visible. Yeah. So my thesis will look at the technology, sanitation policies and laws in India and specifically in Kerala. To understand in Kerala, I'm looking at the Alapi town of Kerala, where the larger project which I'm working, the Brown Gold project, Towards Brown Gold, looking at the off-grid sanitation realities in Asia and Africa. So as a first step, looking at the understanding, looking at the evolution of sanitation work and workers in LAP. So basically, sanitation work, we say solid waste management, liquid waste management. So everything largely come under sanitation, we say, but as per the UNICEF and WHO definition, and also particular to this study, the sanitation will be looking at the seepage management, basically the emptying of septic tanks, to the transporting of the human waste, fecal matter, to the maintenance of sewer lines, to the running of treatment plants. So this is the cycle that we see in the off-grid sanitation realities in India and other developing nations. So basically off-grid means did not connect to the sewer lines, where this is directly going to a sewer line which is centralized and going to a treatment plant where it is treated. So given it has a huge cost, we have this off-grid sanitation, we have a toilet, we have a septic tank. So we'll look at in detail how it's all related to the workers who are at the center of the study. So it is important to mention how sanitation services, sanitation delivery, safe sanitation, or sometimes the words used be like sustainable sanitation. So safe sanitation has developed a lot across the world. It's not just in India, and 1.7 billion lakh people still lacks basic amenities as per the WHO statistics. So it's also impact the GDP of world nation and especially the developing ones. So that's one of the reason we are not able to have a sewer line is also because of the cost it has. And the MDGs, SDGs, and the local and national interventions throughout the years since 1970s, we could say, in case of LAP, I could say 1980s. So community-led total sanitation program was there. That is one of the many that have helped in taking a forward lead in sanitation sector. So we have SDGs. SDG 6 is focusing on safe sanitation and clean water. And MDG goals, we have MDG Millennium Development Goals and CLTS and many other at the state, national, and local levels. So the evolution has started and earlier people were called as night soil men. It was a Victorian euphemism, which is called because the work is done at night, because there is always some impurity connected with the work, because it was human waste. And there is multiple factors that triggered the development, as well as including the hydraulic infrastructure, the arrival of hydraulic infrastructure, water availability, and the diseases spread. For example, in India, the colonial troops were having epidemic disease from time to time, and that was one of the reasons why sanitation inspectors and sanitation departments, sanitary units were developed by Britishers in India. And then started the workers' pool, who were mostly Dalits, and it was completely related, mostly related with the caste system in India. Also minorities, Dalits, migrants, denotified tribes, all were involved in this. So like I mentioned, it started from British era, and the water seal toilets that we are using now and the on-site sanitation system, which septic tank being one of that, this have drastically developed the sanitation scenario in the last 20-30 years. So this has replaced the dry latrines and the manual scavenging practices. Also, different laws were enacted at the national level to stop the manual scavenging. 1993 law was one of them, and 2013 law was one of them. So I'll be discussing about it in detail in the coming slides. And these manual scavengers, starting from British time, they were continuously doing this work, and they lacked good education, health, and other opportunities, as they failed to find a dignified job, another job, because they're always continuously related to the caste and sanitation work. So whenever they work, the safety, they don't have a safety equipments, they go directly, their body is itself act as a technology sometimes. So it happens at the cost of their safety, dignified life, health, and living condition. So the review of literature for my PhD study, for my dissertation. So in the initial stage, I've come up with a set of themes, and one was the pool of workers. Where does these workers come from? Who are these workers? So mostly, it's not that Dalits and denotified tribes, around 1.2 millions of Dalits and denotified tribes in India are working as sanitation workers. And what sanitation workers I have already explained, those who clean, maintain, operate, and empty the sanitation technologies in the any cycle, any set of any point in sanitation chain. And also migrants and minorities. It's not just in India. In Pakistan, when you look at the literature, you can see that the minorities who are converted to Muslim community from other community, whether it be Christian or Hindu, they are working as sanitation workers. And in recent time also in India, sanitation workers are mostly Dalit. So even though there are other people getting into the municipalization, municipal payrolls, but the subcontract is given to Dalits. Next theme we can say is that hazardous and exploitative work. We know that it is a hazardous work given the risk associated with this, and it's been exploitative work because of the cost associated with this. And we always say there was a severe death or somebody got injured. So all these things, media and society forgets these accidents and death after a point, and no improvement in their condition. Since last, for example, 1993, the first law came, and it's been around 30 years. We haven't done much. We can't say we haven't done anything, but still their condition is very poor, and there are data gaps because there is not a complete survey has been done to point out or to find out the manual scavengers. There is numbering, or there is no proper numbering on the amount or the number of sanitation workers in real. So in the Rajya Sabha, the minister has given around 54,000 manual scavengers are there, but the number could be much more than that. And there is improvements in sanitation infrastructure, like I've said, on-site sanitation system, and also the improvements in toilet and the safe sanitation. We have Swachh Bharat mission. So there is a lot of improvement, but at the same time, it has not changed the sanitation workers' conditions much. Also, we look at the mental health of the sanitation workers. Normally, the studies look at the accidents, death, and the physical health related aspect of sanitation workers. But there is a serious relation with the mental health and social exclusion, and they are related as it is found to have structural inequalities and discrimination based on poverty, race, ethnicity, and homelessness. That is what Montero and Nalini says in their work. There is a shift in sanitation sector also, and this has shifted from worst job to it has gone from a good job, which is under the municipalization, and then to a worse job when the market reforms, neoliberal reforms have come up. So this also made their labor relation, there was no labor union. So this has become unstable over this period. This was one of the shift, and different programs in India, especially Safai Karmachari Andolan and public interest litigation, has contributed to a shift in sanitation sector. Also, the devolution of power after the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment also gave a lot of responsibility to local self-government. That has also helped a lot. So one of the major things associated with sanitation work is caste and marginalization, because the caste system and Dalits were given the work, and they were continuously their work is reconfigured in some way, or if a new sanitation technology comes, even then the same Dalits will be working to maintain those sanitation infrastructures. Also, Dalit women are more vulnerable in any of the sanitation when you look at the sanitation scenario, and the patriarchy in Indian system and the caste cultures also renders them invisible. So it has actually Shruti Iyer says that the caste system by the municipality has actually been institutionalized because it was 100% of reservation, untold reservation for the lower caste in the sanitation sector in municipalities. Also, Sujit Poonan's work says that the legal perspective exposes the complex link between the law and the caste. So there is study on the legality aspect and the caste aspect and the sanitation work. Also, gender and sanitation work is another theme which is emerging out of the review, and marginalized the women are marginalized at the intersections of caste, gender, occupation, and also they face poverty, sexual violence, violence at home, discrimination, work. So they are doubly vulnerable. And also when the study conducted by Kisana and Shah says that they say that they have to do this work for their livelihood. And the idea of hazardous labor is so normalized in their life. So even though they have a chronic pain, they think that it is a part of their job, and they pay lesser than the male counterparts. So one of my study also looked on the informality, illegality, and invisibility aspect of sanitation work. So the informality, when you look at the larger context, it is also a good thing because it shows the uh, uh, measure of economic activity, but at the same time, it stops. It actually works in terms of sanitation work as the negative value of waste. So informality is connected with that negative value of waste, and also stops the workers from collective bargaining because they are in the informal sector. Mostly they work in a small team or as individual. It also renders them invisible. Also their work at night renders them invisible. So the illegality and invisibility aspect, there were a lot of commission and committees since independence to look at the issue of dry latrines and also the stopping of manual scavenging. So there was customary right for the manual scavengers that this particular manual scavenging community will work in these houses. So later the High Court have mentioned that this is going to a monopoly kind of situation. So we need to municipalize them. So under the municipalization, these Dalit communities who are doing manual scavenging have been formalized. At least they are on the payrolls or on contract basis with the municipality they were working. But none of the laws came in 1993 and as well as in 2030. They did not work properly, or because of the rehabilitation plans, roadmap was not proper. Also, there was a suggestion on community-centric approach. That means within the manual scavenging community, they should help each other and come out of this precarious job. Also, the sanitary work was using rudimentary tools, hand and basic tools. So now it has gone to vacuum pumps, mechanized pit emptying from the septic tanks. Also, the decentralized sanitation solutions have found to be a good solution. And when we ask for a sewerage system or a larger centralized system, that also give a lot of gaps for the decentralized system or suitable systems to get in to the sanitation service delivery. Also, a small glitch in the centralized or decentralized system is very important for the sanitation service delivery. Even the protective gear, even today, there is no protective gear for the sanitation workers because most of the work happens in the informal sector. So these are the two laws. One was in 1993 and other was in 2030. So first law was only looking at the sanitation perspective, that looks at the public health concern of the country. And the second law understood that there is a urgent need to look at the dignity of the workers who are facing the caste discrimination through this work since 200 years. So the first law was only looking at the dry latrine, but the second law was looking at the entire sanitation system wherever the human waste is accumulated or wherever the human waste travels. And person employed is for manually carrying excreta was considered as manual scavengers, but the later law mentioned sewers, railway tracks, everything. But still there are gaps in the 2013 system also, because the government, the law says that if the employer is giving safety gears to work in a dry latrine, that does not come under the law, because that employer will not be prosecuted because he was been giving safety gears. Also, there is a room for rehabilitation provision in the new law. So why this study? That is one of the questions, and also one of the objective of the larger research study, that in the global south we have off-grid sanitation system, like I mentioned earlier, and we need to have a safe sanitation service in this off-grid sanitation system, and sanitation workers are a major and important factor in this safe sanitation delivery. And this is the storage, emptying, transportation, and treatment. And as I said, sewer lines are more costly and difficult for developing nations to develop. So in India, around 54% uses the on-site sanitation system. So on-site sanitation system is mostly septic tank or pit latrines, where the collection of human waste is occurring. And non-compliances in achieving the targets and non-compliance in the law, and also room for a lot of uh, breaking of the laws, as well as there is no proper roadmap for rehabilitation of sanitation workers, the manual scavengers, is majorly a problem. And that is why this study is needed, and especially in Kerala, because we always say Kerala has been a developed state, but still there is a lack of prioritization in terms of the second generation issues of sanitation. After we have collected the human waste, the transportation, treatment, these things are completely unknown, and there is no proper data on the same. So there is a gap in the sanitation delivery because the state regulation is not there, and it leads to 3 I's: informality, illegality, and invisibility in the sanitation work. So these are the newspaper report, and we also hearing about the amendment in the 2013 manual scavenging abolition law. And my research objective for the study is to understand the evolution of sanitation practice in Kerala, and I've done to an extent this first research objective, but still have to explore more. And second is to look at the influence of sanitation technologies, sanitation systems, and the practices on these sanitation workers. So this also look at the evolution of sanitation workers along with the arrival of technologies since independence. Third is to look at the laws, policies, and the evolution of sanitation worker, or the change and the rehabilitation policies since independence. So I'm thinking to combine all these three, like towards the end, the laws and policies, as well as the emergence of technologies, are very important to study the sanitation workers' evolution in India and specifically in Kerala. So these are my research question. And within the first question, I look at the different types of sanitation practices and the major events in the history of sanitation in Kerala, and what are the contemporary situation of sanitation in Kerala. So the first and third question from the first main research question I'll be discussing a bit in the coming slides. And second question I've mentioned is about the technology and the evolution of sanitation worker, and how did they respond to the emergence of technologies, and also how did the sanitation system impact the occupation of the sanitation worker in terms of discrimination, wage, access to health, and social exclusion. Also, what are the coping mechanisms they have adopted when the new sanitation technologies came up. And the third is about the laws and policies and the role and impact of laws and policies in the evolution of sanitation work. And it looks at the different court cases, the court rulings, High Court of Kerala or the Supreme Court, and on sanitation sector and how it impacted the work and workers. So I've mentioned to see this case in Kerala, we are narrowing down to Alleppey, a coastal town with a population of 1,77,000. And it is known as Venice of East. It's more of water. It has a lot of waterlogged areas because of it is covered with water from all sides, not all sides, 3 sides. And the water table in Alleppey is 0 to 2 meters, which makes the septic tank or the on-site sanitation system to dig only to 1 to 2 meters, which makes the sanitation septic tank to fill faster. This makes the need for sanitation workers faster than in other places. And being a coastal town, this Alleppey town study will also replicate to other at least 20 towns in Kerala. So only 0.23% of the fecal sludge generated in Alleppey gets treated, and 65% of the household have septic tanks and 32% have pit latrines. Also, it's a flood-prone area and recurring waterborne diseases and the hotspot in terms of safe sanitation. So the study adopted a qualitative research and through FGDs and interviews with the local government officials, local people, and analyzing the research through thematic analysis of the content, I have came up with some of the preliminary insight. So this is about The job was a formal job of scavenging under the municipality till 1970s or end of 1970s. Till 1990s, this was a transition to flush toilet or water seal toilet. And then the informal scavenging job actually kicked off. And that was completely in the private sector. And in 2008, when the technology, when the vacuum suckers, when the mechanized emptiers of septic tank came in, that is since 2008, there is a mix of illegality, informality, and invisibility among the workers. So this is my output. And after the preliminary field study, so first I've mentioned the manual scavenging was there, and Town Improvement Committee 1894 decided to do this in Alleppey, and it was caste-based occupation, mostly converted Dalits into Christianity was doing the job in Alleppey, and they were socially excluded. They were forced to live in the colonies. 2 or 3 colonies were there where the manual scavengers lives, and they faced a lot of discrimination at workplace. They were not allowed to wear the footwear inside the office, and they were not given the salary in their hands. They were like, the salary was dropped from a specific height. So it was kind of untouchability was seen in their at their workplace also. And there was a continuous struggle for betterment through the unions, the municipal unions, that have found some, that have made the better payment for these workers. There was a lack of equipment, and they have a lot of work to do because they were given more than 80, 100 houses per day. And there was discrimination towards family members of also. If their children were going to school, they were being made fun of by saying the colony they are living. So there was a discrimination towards the family as well as to the person at the workplace. So the caste-based discrimination and the work is actually coming out from the caste. There was discrimination clearly in the sanitation, the manual scavenging time in Alleppey as well. And this was a transition from dry latrine to flush toilet. And this took around 20 years, and state, national, local initiative has helped in constructing water seal toilet. And there was no much data on the workers during this period. And the UN agency like UNICEF also came in for working in Alleppey 1982 to 1986, which constructed around 1,740 individual latrines. But the decentralization of power in 1992, which gave the devolution of power to the local governments, have helped a lot in the development of sanitation infrastructure in Alleppey. Also, the projects like SDP, UPA, Urban Poverty Alleviation, CBNP, SJSRY project, this all helped for the development of sanitation infrastructure. So in contemporary scenario, there is manual pit emptiers who are Dalit migrants from Tamil Nadu, who are paid less amount. They also ask for less amount, around 2,000 to 3,000 per household, and they get less work due to climate change because of rain in December also, in March also, in June also. So when there is a rain, the household doesn't call them like they call the mechanized emptiers, because it is difficult to work for them because they're doing a manual work, and they all do an individual work. They go in their bicycles and do their work. So their work is informal because they are working alone or as 2 people, and their work is illegal because they are also dealing with the human waste, but it is not actually said because they are not employed by someone. Even though they are doing by their own will, the caste is what make them work in those situations. So the mechanized vacuum suckers, around 85 trucks spread across the district, and they work in the neighboring districts also. And they actually started since 2008. And the arrival of these mechanized vacuum suckers, septic tank cleaners, have increased the competition, and it has lost many of the manual pit emptiers' job. Many of them lost the job, or many of them lost the number of days they are getting for work. And also there is cooperation among them. because some of the septic tanks they are not able to clean, and then they call the manual pit emptiers. At the same time, manual pit emptiers, if they see a bigger septic tank, they call the mechanized vacuum suckers. This mechanized vacuum suckers have an association which is also informal, which is not registered. And there are people from all caste, class, and religion in those, because it has got little more recognition these days, and also it is a well-paid job because they get from 7,000 to 8,000 at night. But the major issue within the association members is that whether it should be a state-governed sanitation service through mechanized vacuum sucking, or it should be still in the illegal and flee away from police, get penalty, because at this time they're able to get 7,000 to 8,000 rupees. They fear that if it get regularized or regulation under the municipality, they get around 3,000 to 4,000. This makes a conflict among themselves. So these are the pictures. The right one is a picture from Tamil Nadu, and left one is a picture from Alleppey. So this is the tools of the manual septic tank cleaners. They go by bicycle. So I'm coming to the discussion and conclusion. So the shift is from a legal and formal work to a mix of informal, illegal and invisible work. The mechanized emptiers work from 12 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're mostly invisible, and they get caught by the police or the local people if they dump the waste in the water bodies or in the open spaces. So the informality here points out to the regulative limits of the state in certain services. Here it is sanitation services, and the use of laws in multiple ways, and there is no arrangement by the state. So the laws they break are mostly for depositing waste, the human waste, in the roadside or in the water body, but there is no proper place for the pit emptiers to dispose the same. So in the absence of an answer by the state, they have been caught or penalized by the police or the judges or the court, but they are not able to tell what is the answer for the same. The usage of end products in older times, when it was manual scavenging, the collected waste, fecal sludge, was dried and made into powder form and transported into different places in North India as fertilizers. But in the absence of a proper collection, it is absent today. There is no reuse of the material. And there is a shift in the caste, class, and education background in terms of mechanized pit emptiers, but not in terms of the manual pit emptiers. So this shows when technology, the better technology comes up, different population comes in, when it is also a high paid job. The discrimination still exists in different magnitude and forms. Even the mechanized pit emptiers through social media are made bullied by their friends because of the work they are doing. And there are two different set of workers. Like I mentioned, they are interdependent, they have clear competition as well as the cooperation. So finally, I tried to mention through my work is that there is an emergence of technology and the enactment of laws that have not abolished the manual handling of human waste, because there is an absence of rehabilitation plans. These are my references, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Hariprasad. Really enjoyed listening to you. So you picked up a very dirty and messy subject and presented so neatly and systematically. So, my compliments to you for that. And I understand this is still a research work in progress. So you're still in the middle of your thesis. So there is, still a long way for you to go. So at this stage, I will just raise a few comments and remarks just to encourage you to elaborate on some aspects of your research, and also to hear more about how you plan to move forward. So just to quickly summarize, so what I understood, your work is of a highly interdisciplinary character. You look at both questions of technology and institutions as in practices, but also the legal framework, and look at their interface with sanitation. I understand that you're using predominantly a qualitative research design because you talk about, thematic content analysis. You also use a conceptual lens of intersectionality to look at how gender, intersects with other aspects of social differentiation to shape people's differential vulnerability in the sector. So I think this is what I essentially gathered from your talk. So now I would, because in your work, you kept using the words informal, illegal, and invisible. So I would like you to say a little bit more on your understanding of the relationship between informality and illegality, right? So is everything that's informal illegal in general? And in the context of the sanitation sector, what is this distinction between informal and illegal mean? So that would be my first question, and I would encourage you to respond to that.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Vishal. So, as a part of my literature review, I have looked at the informality and illegality a little deeper, but I was not able to add that. So, I will also, by quoting different people, I would be able to comment on that. So, what counts as an informal work? So, it changes based on the time. So, what counts it before the neoliberal era was not, it was after neoliberal era. And the boundaries we set for that. So, earlier we could say, the self-employed people or the firms with number of workers below 6 was considered as informal. But today, even within the a formalized job, the people are considered informal because the salaried employment, if they are not having a salaried employment, for example, or they are self-employed or they are doing domestic work, micro enterprise itself also is considered under informal work, and also small businesses. So basically the informality says the fact that it is being formal and not official, but at the same time, it is an agreement between employers and employees. But here in the info, so I can definitely say that there is no agreement between employees and employers in LAP for sure. One set is a manual handlers. They are doing individual independent job, even though it is caste based, they are from a Dalit community. The other is from different caste, class, and age backgrounds, but they also don't have a proper agreement between the employer and employee, because today if some 4 or 5 employers under a truck driver, so the truck driver is the main person who handles, who is the owner of the micro enterprises which run the vacuum sucking services. So the employees under him can go to another truck driver next day. So it is like a daily wage again. So the informality can be well established. At the same time, in a book called The Other Path, De Soto describes informality as the illegal pursuit of legal economic ends. So there is illegality also somehow related in the beginning of the informality. Also, I think it is mentioned because of the tax they are not paying to the state. But at the same time, the work in terms of sanitation work in LAP they are doing is also connected to the illegality, because they are dumping the waste in the open space and in water bodies. So the work which they are doing is informal, and they have to do the work as illegal. The work become illegal because the state has a regulative limits.
Yeah.
The state regulative limits of the bureaucracy to act on the sanitation system or the sanitation service delivery. And if they get caught, they get penalized like 25,000 per day, or they are imprisoned for 3 months or 6 months. So they, and also during the COVID, they were given this Emergency Disaster Management Act also on them. So they tried to work from 12 o'clock at night to the 4 o'clock in the morning, which renders them invisible. So there is no women employers in the sanitation sectors in LAP, because the work is mostly in at night for the mechanized sanitation workers, and for the human handlers of septic tank, there are wives of the people, the family member of the people sometimes accompany, but they don't get into the septic tanks. So they help the husband or the son. So that is how it also connected to the gender. Yeah, that is majorly about also the social protection. They don't have a social protection measures, and there is no better health care. So in terms of informality, I think it is more or less clear, but have to take it into an academic or the theoretically I have to frame it
Sure.
better. That is there.
Yeah. So I think as your work, evolves, you would possibly, reach a point where you tie all this into a, conceptual framework, looking at, your social identity, the technology, the institutions, and the relationship between the legal, the illegal, the formal and informal. So because a lot of legal scholars actually talk of legal, illegal, and extra legal. Right. So there are certain things which are not necessarily illegal, like in the, in the eyes of society, but they are extra legal. So they're outside the formal, regulatory framework, but they're still recognized as legal in the eyes of society. So I think that might be, some literature also to dig into. So as I said, it's a good case of interdisciplinary work, looking at the relationship between technology, institutions as in practices and laws. So would you see that this kind of an interdisciplinary approach is a sort of a unique strength of your work? And are there other sanitation studies that also, adopt this interdisciplinary kind of approach? Because a lot of people would just look at laws or look at the technology, look at the practices. So do you see that this kind of interdisciplinary approach is a unique strength of your work? Will that be one of the unique strengths and one of the unique contributions of your work?
Yeah, firstly, that not much people have studied about the evolution of the work. So I am looking at both laws and technology, laws as well as policies and technologies, because I think all are interrelated, because the advancement of technology helped the state to take off their hands from the sanitation sector, and maybe the laws came after that, and no longer a undignified job is a part of their policies. But the policies they have put forward are the rehabilitation policies, which doesn't have a direction for the manual scavengers or the Dalits to come out of that, because they were being suppressed for 200 years or more, and they don't have an education background, health and other aspects. So I think because it's also evolution as well as the technology and policy are into it, I think it would be a unique study as well, because in Kerala, I don't think much studies have come across sanitation workers as specific, and especially those who handles the human waste. Because when you discuss about the sanitation workers, you can have a lot of work is on the solid waste management. And when it is even people like you mentioned in the beginning, it's the work, when you get into this work to study this work itself, many people are not getting into the study because of that. I don't know. So as a part of a larger work across Asia and Africa, I think also the connection between other countries like Ethiopia, Ghana, and Nepal also will contribute to the study when we compare how it happens over the years in different countries. And also the uniqueness is that the research is focusing on legality, and it is a sensitive topic, and getting data is difficult, but at the same time it would be interesting. So, and also a little more challenging if I chose to have an ethnography kind of more. So this they're fleeing at night with their work. So if I chose to join for a participant observation, that would also be interesting.
No, surely this is methodologically quite challenging, very intricate, not easy to engage with. So my compliments again on, being able to get down to this level of detail and intricacy on such a messy and, complicated subject. And so as a discussant, my last question is a methodological one. So there are many students, in the audience, and you talk about thematic content analysis that you're trying to use in your work. So maybe many of the researchers and students in this group would benefit from knowing a bit more about what thematic content analysis is, what kind of data is it particularly useful for, what kind of research questions, is it really relevant for, and how do you actually do it? So maybe a few words on that.
Yeah, basically, while starting the research itself, because it was evolution, it is a kind of history. At the same time, I get some major breakpoints in the history. At the same time, it is more subjective. When we always speak about history, it's subjective. But at the same time, I try to get this evolution through the words, emotion, not just really emotion, through the memories of people. And it is more descriptive. When it is more descriptive, the work I've done, I've basically the process I will mention. So basically the theme has been developed, and then the creativity in the above process. So how the different people's points are connected comes in the creativity of combining these codes into themes and the sub themes, and then get into the ladder for the abstraction process. So it is a step-by-step process. As it was the beginning, I've just did it in the Excel sheet, but there is NVivo and other software which you can use it for coding the qualitative data. So I think it is a nuances, emotions, and their experiences, mainly the experience of sanitation workers, that is definitely connected to their emotions as discriminated, as doing a discriminative work. So this all helps, and basically it is a qualitative work because it is mostly subjective, but at the same time there are some data which I can objectively mention uh, in between, and also the laws which I will be getting, the court rulings. So this, even the court rulings can be subjective based on the circumstances, but I think that the developing the themes and current knowledge, combining it with different available resources like the books written by a old panchayat president was very helpful for me to connect what people have said and what was been happening in Alapi town, the clash between the local municipality and the local panchayat. So this was through the memoir of a local panchayat president, who was the first panchayat president in 1957. And yeah, this is basically a descriptive study. That's why I chose to have a thematic analysis of the contents. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's also that you're basically capturing, the lived experiences of the sanitation workers. Yeah, I mean, the socially constructed realities for them, right? Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Hariprasad. Enjoyed talking to you. There will be other questions in the audience as well. So I'll stop now, and Ekta will take it forward again. Thank you.
Thanks, Vishal. Thanks, Hari, for the wonderful presentation. And there is a question from Mr. Selva. The question is, any country, have you found any country which is very actively managing their septic wastes?
There are sewer lines in many of the global north countries. So we are looking at the off-grid sanitation scenario, and I haven't looked at it for the other countries, to be honest. So the developing nation, or most of the developing nations, so the study I've quoted where India is 54% off-grid sanitation, and most of the places in India is struggling with the safe disposal of waste in the absence of sanitation treatment, the treatment of fecal waste. So as of now, I haven't come across any country under the developing nations, like in the developing nation, who are doing very well, because Pakistan also have similar condition where manual scavenging, and Bangladesh also, Dr. Sally Kawood's work was there. So it also looks at how minorities and migrants and others are looking at the doing manual emptying of the waste, the mechanized emptying of the waste.
Thanks, Hari. So any questions from the audience? Yeah. Yes, please.
Hi, Hariprasad. What a wonderful presentation. I think we need more people like you to be talking about these important issues. Honestly speaking, I was not listening to the sanitation part of it. I was listening to the discrimination part of it, and which is about us. And I just want to learn from you if you have come across any study where people have studied the upper caste and found out why do they discriminate and why do they hate sanitation workers. Because I'm asking this question because I have a similar problem with the water studies where most of the time the study is on the vulnerable community. And I barely find any study where we are studying how extravagant the upper class or the elites are. So have you come across any such study? Why people are people willing to clean their shit? And if not, can they change their behavior towards others who are really doing the work which is noble, because they cannot do it. Everybody can become a doctor or a professor, you know, and that's very easy. I really see it that way. It is education making or reducing our level of respect for others? Have you come across any such strong studies?
No, I haven't seen any studies exactly what you are asking for, why the behavior. So there is a lot of issues with the behavioral change that needs to be done when the safe sanitation and sustainable sanitation has to happen. And also there are societal response towards sanitation workers is there. Like, for example, instead of calling people safai walas, they call kachra walas. So that study was there. So those things are there, but I don't think anybody has looked at why did they do this. And that is just because the caste system, as I assume that it's very pertinent that it is the caste system, and also migrants. It's more of like second class citizen. For example, the Tamil migrants who came to Kerala for the work, they are considered a second class citizen because one is that in official way they don't have a ration card, they don't have a identities, address proof. At the same time, when they ask for money, the people in the locality says that we have our own people, we will make them work with that. So it's also the identity which they carry. And if they are minorities, if they are Dalits, it's all their identity which is marginalized, their agency that makes them to a vulnerable, precarious condition.
But just may I ask Ekta a follow-up question in your thesis? What is hurting you more? Is the sanitation thing or the discrimination thing? Because I was really very, very intrigued. As a human being, what is more touching for your own research? Because we don't find many Hariprasads in this country. So I'm very proud of you. Okay.
So definitely the caste discrimination thing is there. It is also, we can't stop it at one view. At the same time, we have to look for our public health new imagination also. So one thing is that we have to divide, we have to break the caste and sanitation work, which is standing always together. So anyone from any community should come, and we have to rehabilitate the existing annual scavengers who are from Dalit community. That is my take on the discrimination point. For example, the Dalits who are doing since 30 years the cleaning of septic tanks, they were not given. So for example, one of the person who I'm in touch with, he tried to get away from this job and he started a scrap metal business. And after a month, he came back to this job and called me, and he said that I couldn't continue that. He hasn't mentioned the reason. It can be the team which he has, the friends he has. It's all in the cleaning of septic tanks, and also they are not getting much support. They don't have much educational background. They don't have a social capital. The social capital is the major thing, along with the century-long discrimination that makes them more vulnerable. So we need to address this problem in two ways. Also, as public health and the caste and sanitation work should be at least separated, even if we have a treatment plant or transportation.
Do you think technology will really be helpful to break this caste jinx? I mean,
Yeah,
I have my experience as no, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, technology alone cannot, but technology can also.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hariprasad, there is one more question for you. It is from Mr. Arvind. He wished to ask you that is there any form of coordination between the state, homeowners, scavengers, and how do you see this coordination affect the evolution of the institutional framework?
No, as of my understanding, the state is completely out of it. Let it be the local self-government, let it be the state government. There is everything under the state till the construction of toilets, not even who cleans the toilets. So this is not coming under the contemplation of the laws or the contemplation of the policies. Who will clean this after this? So that is how the informality of the workers come in, and they come from somewhere and they do it. It's over. And unless it's a pressing issue, nobody's scared about it. No problem. If there is a new treatment plan coming in, people will protest. But there is no protest by the people where this is going, because it's not coming out and it's not disturbing the population. Somehow the government, state government, central government is managing it.
Okay, so there is, Mr. Bharat would like to ask you something. Mr. Bharat, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my question is on what do you feel is the failure of the government of India has a mission for called National Safai Karmachari Mission, which is
Hello. Hello.
His question is why Safai Karmachari mission got failed by the government of India. It started by the government of India.
As of my understanding, Safai Karmachari Andolan is a larger movement, which is still continuously struggling. And because of their attempt and PILs, public interest litigation, the 1993 laws and the 2013 laws came in. That is what my understanding. And today also, whoever people are working as manually handling the human waste, they are there in the field to help them at least until they get rehabilitated. Because when I interviewed a person from Safai Karmachari Andolan coordinator in Alleppey, there was a survey conducted by the India government to map the people and give a one-time cash assistance of 40,000 rupees to the manual scavengers, whoever is doing manually handling the waste. So they have called and advertised in the newspaper, and people who had the identity card of Alleppey got the money. And all these people came from Tamil Nadu. Nobody got 40,000 rupees as a one-time cash assistance because they don't have an Aadhaar card of Alleppey. So the people who are helping this manual handlers were the Safai Karmachari Andolan and other members of their team. So their struggle is still continuing, and we can't say it is a failure because they are fighting to the very, very larger cost which is caste, which is attached in the Indian society. So they're still struggling, and the research community and my personal interest is also to stand with the with the activists who are looking towards the stopping the caste and discrimination.
thank you.
Thank you, Bharat.
So any other question from the audience? They can put their questions in the chat box, or they can unmute yourself to ask the question.
अलका कुछ पूछो भाई अलका कुछ पूछो.
Yeah, I had a question. I think I had put it in chat box. The question was that after trying to make it formal, is it that the people who were doing manual scavenging are losing their jobs and now other people are entering the job market because it's formalized? So the informal community is getting out or forced to get out, and the other section is coming in.
So since it was half an hour, I couldn't add a lot of things. So
Yes.
I'll just mention it in 30 seconds or so. So there was customary rights to this manual scavengers.
Right.
And then High Court said that the manual scavengers are going beyond the control. They have to be controlled. And the municipalization came in.
Yes.
And then municipalization came in and the advancement of technology came in. So their work should not be continued in Alleppey. And by 1970s, 80s, those people were given the work of cleaning the roads and sweeping the roads. But the scavenger, the rank which they have entered the municipality as an employee was scavenger only till they retire in 2006 or 2010. So new people did not came. So there is a blank, or there is a gray area or black area which we couldn't find who, till the septic tank is constructed and it fills, who did the cleaning or who was the workers who were managing this. So after the manual scavengers, directly it was the Tamil workers who migrant workers who were cleaning the septic tank, which I could find out. And when it went to informal work, these scavengers who were under the municipality were given other jobs, but not all 200 or 300 scavengers were permanent employees of municipality. Baki, everyone was under contract, but there was a formal agreement on a daily basis or a monthly basis.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes.
You mentioned that if you like empty the two-pit toilets, it's not considered manual scavenging if you give safety kit. Now, I think that there is a very thin line when in a soak pit, the human excreta converts into soil. So how do you like time that okay, till here it is excreta and now it is soil. So it is manual scavenging till this point of time? Because when you empty it, really, it's sometimes it's as good as manure to handle. So how do you really define this?
Yeah, so I'm, as an answer to your question, I'm not answering about the technicality of the septic tank or sock pit, but I'll say that there is a thin line in the laws itself, the laws, right, 2013 law. So it is very confusing. We can interpret in many ways. It does not mention about the mechanized. They only say technology should come in. They don't say mechanized work, about the mechanized work for cleaning the septic tank. That is true that they are not handling by hand, but the human handlers of septic tank, they are not cleaning a dry latrine. They are cleaning an on-site sanitation system. So the 2013 law was about the dry latrines mainly, and sewer lines and toilet of railways as well. So this is also there is also septic tank mentioned in the 2013 law, but these people are using the hand tools mainly, and also if the employer is not provided a safety gear, this will come under the it can be a crime. Basically, it's an individual job and it is state's responsibility to stop them. So who will put out the case and who will arrest who? And this all under, they can't arrest. If they arrest all these migrant workers, who will do the work? So the law and the situation analysis all makes a very complex scenario, so that I will be doing in the coming months. So the question is still there in my mind as well. Thank you.
I really compliment you for this is wonderful work. And I also want to compliment Kerala in many ways, because Kerala in many ways is far ahead of other states. I have heard that in Kerala, like the people have developed these robots for cleaning manholes, one, and second, Uber-like services for calling mechanized cleaning services. Is it right?
Yeah, the Bandicoot was developed in Kerala by engineers, but the issue is that to buy and maintain those technologies, like Mansi have mentioned, so the technology, we have to buy 30 lakhs of an instrument, and who will maintain it, and will that solve all the problems? So there is contemplation within that.
But you're still far ahead of us. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So Hariprasad, as we discussed all that this discrimination, basically the discrimination, not only the gender biased, it's on the caste, and why still after 75 years of independence, still we are into this discrimination. This topic needs to be discussed and come to the knowledge of the people, and this is whole mindset. We have to change our mindset, because sanitation is the most important thing, and nobody can live without it. So not even a single day we can survive without any sanitation worker. So we must consider that, yes, my waste, my responsibility, we should work on it, and we should respect the people who are doing this waste management for us. So basically they need a lot of support in terms of everything, from the social, health, financial, everything. So we all must respect and support them. If we can't do anything else, at least we can do the respect and give them a smile every time we meet them. So this is the whole message, and definitely technology can help, but it can never replace the human hands. So we should respect those human hands. With this, I think if there is any question from the audience, then we can take it. Else we will conclude the session.